Hello, my name is Cassandra Williams from Educational Innovation 360. I'm so excited you can join me today. This presentation derives from a blog that I wrote. Make sure you check it out. It's called In the Near Future, EdTech Companies Will Have More Influence on Curriculum. Most of the information came from Olasaki Karakambanya, and he goes over the pros and the cons of technology as well as artificial intelligence embedded in the school. Make sure you check that out as well. Let's start out with the pros. Pro number one, personalized content. To have content and curriculum based off of a student, that's pretty great. So personalization and customization is key. Artificial intelligence allows teachers and students to pretty much pace their curriculum and then give them different variations of the form and what it looks like. This goes from the teacher as well as the students. Kids can pretty much choose anything, their own pathway. Teachers, on the other hand, can collect data and extract insights, and they can create scaffolds for students based on the need and the data. So this kind of reminds me of, there was a school, I think it was like called Northwest School in New York, where it was based on a hybrid model of artificial intelligence. The students, it was a one-to-one. Every student got a tablet and they were able to pick and choose their own curriculum, but it was based off of their needs. Another thing this kind of reminds me of, remember those FOSS kits? So I want to say back in, I don't know, I might date myself, 2001, we had these really big FOSS kits. And these FOSS kits were science curriculums. And the curriculum gave us maybe 1 to 2 units in each box. And the box had everything from the measuring tape to the science to all the pieces necessary to carry out that module. So the president is of Ready Artificial Intelligence, is called Ready AI, is Andrew Chin. He kind of developed the same concept. He developed kind of pretty much a curriculum, a guide for students and teachers to demonstrate the most important concepts in artificial intelligence. And he's pretty successful. He has it embedded in about 30 schools in the United States. So how cool is that? Personalized content is a big deal for K-12 schools. Pro number two, groups. We do groups all day, heterogeneous, homogeneous, all these groups. So Pro 2 is it supports students groups, right? It is possible to create adapted groups. So imagine that has a class, 4 students in the class. Among this group, some are maybe inclined to knowing this content already and some may need support. If a teacher has this evidence, they can gather students by groups, by student needs, by the difficult tasks, and basically analyze all the contents and finding those students that need that particular skill and help them and motivate them, and then match projects that will support them. This is really big. So artificial intelligence creates all of that in one. This reminds me of when we had centers, right, in reading for reading groups. Imagine having all of that already pre-made for you. What we had was we had the table in the back. We still have the table in the back. And then we have the Waterford computers. And the Waterford computers were just computers that allowed students to, at their own pace, gain the knowledge they needed for the content area. So if we were learning letters and sounds, each student had their own skill. They were working on letters and sounds because that's something we needed. When they got back to the whole group, we made that connection and did like decodables, right? And so just having the different algorithms to support students is a big deal. So student support, that's another pro of artificial intelligence. Another pro is responding, 24/7 response. So when are best times that students work? So some of us work better in the morning, some of us work better in the evening, and many times teachers, the human can't respond in the nature maybe the student wants. So this allows students to get anytime, anywhere learning. Artificial intelligence doesn't take breaks and it doesn't get annoyed that somebody needs help at maybe 1 a.m. And so every student can pretty much contact a virtual tutor per se if they need any type of assistance. So that is another pro. So we talked you 3 pros and now we're going to do 3 cons. The reason why I want to break it up, just small little chunks, I didn't want to overwhelm you with the information, but con number 1 is technology addiction. I know you're starting to see it in your students as well as your personal kids. So con number 1, artificial intelligence can kind of pretty much stimulate technology addictions. Just think about you. How often do you use your phone, and how often are you on your phone? Your lights, your beaming, your beeps, and your buzzes. Schools are traditional places where students can really imagine things, right? Imagine things through text, through books. They can actually explore. And so having a one-to-one, I often worry because there's not a one size that fits all, right? And so eventually, I think our students will become so dependent on technology that they will not imagine a world without it. Lena Lawthorne at the University of California, Berkeley, she says this, and I think this speaks so much to what is going on. The long-term effects of children growing up with screen time are not well understood because there's still more research to do. But early signs are not encouraging. Poor attention spans, anxiety, depression, lack of impersonal social connections are just some of the correlations that we are already starting to see. And then you think of the number of teens that are becoming addicted, and she said they're becoming non-functioning adults. And that is the worry. That is the ongoing worry of technology. And also, just observing the classroom, I'm starting to see some students who are in that so-called center or the technology group opting out. You're right. So I'm talking about K-5. When things get a little challenging or when they're kind of done with it, they just opt out, right? They just close the program or they change, they do something else. Con number two is engagement. This breaks my heart. The lack of personal engagement. So in some cases, it seems like we're starting to replace teachers with robots, right? In a sense, we're kind of robbing our students of that personal interaction and connection and just building relationships, which is so key. We talk about personal connections and the affection touch. And so being able to really consider student engagement. So engagement is important because the social presence of teachers in an online environment and the ability to strike a digital balance is key. Those are beneficial factors for student engagement and student outcomes. And so we got to keep that in mind. The personal touch, the personal connection, and the student engagement is very important when you're talking about technology and artificial intelligence. The last con is no alternative, right? When we are teaching and we're educators in the classroom, we always think if a student doesn't get it this way, we can always try another way. And then we can always try another way. But with artificial intelligence, there are no alternatives. A good teacher can offer several ways for problem. Um, a student can use one approach, a teacher will come up with alternative ones. Also, like I said, one size doesn't fit all, so alternative methods are necessary. It kind of reminds me, teaching reading, I think, is the most challenging thing to do in education. And so sometimes students didn't get whole word reading, sometimes they didn't get it through phonics, and you had to really identify what the student is missing to create scaffolds to what the student needs. And so I remember it was one student that was not hearing the middle sound. And so blending in small group, we always start out with the middle sound, ah, 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 and then we made it long, elongated, ah, and then we put on the end sound. So at, right? And then after we did that, then we put the beginning sound. What's this at? Now, what if we put the book in front of it and then we finally got that? So just being able to recognize what the student is missing and what they need, and then how to creatively find a solution. So one size doesn't fit all, and alternative methods are key when teaching. I think it really widens the gap and it really changes the rich versus poor, right? Bots and other artificial learning tools will require students to pretty much have a tablet or a functioning laptop, and this will create more of a digital divide. And I think Chris Hansen really hits the nail on the head when he says, although we think a lot of people have access, there's still 5 billion in the people in the world that don't, right? And so we have to be cognizant of what that looks like, what homework are we providing, do parents have access? And so I remember Lloyd Morissette, the president of the Marco Foundation, really talks about the gap and it being widened, and these tools are great only if we all have access to them. I hope you enjoyed the 3 pros, 3 cons of artificial intelligence and technology. Some of the pros are personalized content. Every student can be supported in the way that they need. Number 2, supporting student groups. We can change algorithms to where it supports groups or even puts them in groups based off of their need. Number 3, 24/7 response, to have a bot respond to the student based on when their best time of learning is. Cons are technology addiction. Some of our students are becoming addicted to their devices and technology. 2, student engagement. It's nothing like the personal touch of an actual human. And the third one, it widens the gap, the digital divide, and it continues to get wider to where it's a divide between the rich and the poor. As a wrap up, it could be good because educators can pretty much avoid paper printing, photocopying, and then providing materials of accountability. They can access information on digital devices, and then rhythms. EdTech companies pretty much can get an oversight or a one-up on traditional companies and technology companies or traditional book companies. So the progress of each student can easily be monitored and pretty much evaluated for individual activities. But I regret, I keep going back to just this one size does not fit all. And I mean, the technology is not a solution for every student. So I hope you enjoy. Make sure you check out my blog. Here are the references. All right, so I hope you enjoyed. All right, talk to you later. Bye for now.